welcome back to my channel. Long time no talk. I know I keep saying I'm gonna try to post, but I really am gonna try to post, I swear. I've got Ladybug here in my lap if you see her moving around. So in case you couldn't tell by the title, I'm gonna try to give you guys a kind of overview of my pregnancy. I'm 34 weeks now, so I did an update where I think I updated you to around 8 weeks before, so you can check that video out for the very beginning of my pregnancy. And so I might overlap a little bit, but I'm going to start right around the same time period and just kind of give you an update on what's been going on. And by the way, I'm sitting in Cooper's room right now, which, that's a big reveal. His name is Cooper, so I haven't said that yet here on YouTube. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen that already, which if you don't follow me on Instagram, you definitely should. I'll leave my like little, what's it called? Tag? No, my handle. My Instagram handle, is that what it's called? My Instagram handle. Right here, so you guys can go and follow me on there if you aren't, for kind of updates, especially as I'm not uploading on YouTube, kind of to keep up with me there. Okay, so let's jump back to like 8 weeks. The last thing I think I told you I was going to tell you about was my appointment at 8 weeks. I live in a really rural area, which if you guys have followed me for any amount of time, you would know that there's not a lot around me. So I don't have a lot of options with hospitals and doctors and stuff like all these other people that I, especially on YouTube, that I see that talk about this, that they have all these options. I don't really have that close, so there's not a lot of options. But I made an appointment with an OB at 8 weeks and went in and did, you know, all the normal first 8-week OB appointment things. I had a dating ultrasound, you know, where you take your pee and meet with the doctor and stuff, and everything came back good with him. The ultrasound, he was measuring a couple days small, but I think that is because I ovulated late, so I think that's the reason why he was coming back a couple days small, and it wasn't any amount of time. I think that my last missed period, if I remember right, my last missed period was saying that I was due October 1st, but the dating ultrasound said I was due October 3rd. And so they just left it with my last missed period and leaving my due date October 1st. So that was that. My big issue that I had in that appointment was that I really want a natural pregnancy. I wanted a natural birth. I want just a lot, you know, around the delivery to be, you know, more natural. And so I asked my OB a lot of questions about, do you support this and do you support this and how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? And I didn't have a very good response from her. Sorry, the air conditioner just kicked on. I'm sure you're gonna be able to hear it in the video, but honestly, I'm not gonna turn it off because I can't sit here for 30 minutes or however long this video is gonna take without air conditioning. So I'm sorry the air conditioner just kicked on. But anyway, the OB just wasn't super supportive, so I left feeling like very discouraged and like kind of helpless and hopeless, and just because I don't have a lot of options around me and didn't really know like, okay, I guess this is it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it was just very upsetting. And we thought about it. I talked to a bunch of people in my life and was just kind of told them how I felt and was encouraged to look into other options. I really wanted a midwife, and there's midwives around here, but they only do home births, and I don't live close to a hospital by any means. It's like 40 minutes, so, which I know some people say you could definitely still do a home birth. I just personally didn't feel comfortable knowing that I was 40 minutes from a hospital if something life-threatening happened for me or my baby. So I didn't really consider that to be a real true option. The hospitals around here don't allow midwives to come into them, but there's a birth center in Arkansas, but it's nowhere near my house. It's a little over 3 hours away. And I looked at it on the website and everything, and it was like to the T what I wanted. Like, everything about it was like what I wanted in my delivery of my baby. I was supported by people around me, just like, you know, go figure it out, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a stay-at-home wife, so I have the option to, you know, stay up there locally before the birth and everything like that. And we're lucky that it's actually in Northwest Arkansas, where we originally are from. I'm actually from Joplin, Missouri, which is a little bit north of that, about an hour and a half north of Northwest Arkansas. And then my husband was born and raised in Northwest Arkansas. So we're lucky we have a lot of family around there. So we went and scheduled our 12-week appointment, canceled our 12-week appointment with the OB, and haven't looked back. So basically that's kind of what we did. We transferred the care to the birth center that have nurse certified midwives, and they have been a godsend. Like, I can't say enough good things about the birth center that I'm using. I feel so confident and so comfortable with my decision. I mentioned in my last video, because this is gonna get back to being relevant here in a minute. At 6 weeks, I had a UTI that I was still under the care of the OB, and I was treated at with the OB with just oral antibiotics, like the pill antibiotics, which I did talk about in my last video, but just like a refresher, because it's been like, you know, like a long time. But yeah, we did my 12-week appointment, met the birth center, everything like that. Everything was really good. And some of my dates might be a little bit off because I didn't track like everything like I wanted to with videos or even a calendar or anything like that. But I think I was around, oh gosh, I had another UTI, but this time I didn't know I had a UTI. I was in a car accident. It wasn't anything major, but it was just, you know, it was enough for our car to be in the shop for a month. So it was more than a fender bender, but everyone was fine. It wasn't anything super bad. But I ended up with the UTI right after that. I was getting really bad pain, kind of lower, and then like right here in my like kind of rib going around my back. And called my midwife and everything, and she was like, you know, it's probably, you know, you're just sore. You were in a car accident, you know, so it's probably just, you know, you're a little sore or whatever. So, you know, plus just around that time of my pregnancy, it was normal to be getting like stretching pains and all that kind of stuff. Didn't really think a whole lot of it and tried to just wait it out. So it was probably like 2 or 3 days I waited, and finally it was unbearable. I was crying. I was on the floor in pain. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my whole life at that point. I was like, this isn't normal. There is something wrong. You know, if this was normal, someone would have told me about it, and I don't have like a super low pain tolerance, I don't think, or anything like that, so it wasn't like I'm just like, you know what I mean? So I called my midwife again and was like, told her, you know, like something is wrong, and she was like, go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and I had a kidney infection that went on a lot longer than it should have, because I was waiting it out at home thinking I was sore, which I know a lot better now, but I didn't know what pain was normal and what pain, like what level of pain was normal and what wasn't. So I let it go on longer than I should have. So we went to the hospital and got treated and had IV antibiotics, and after I left the hospital, I was prescribed another round of oral pill antibiotics. So that was around 20 weeks, and everything, I mean, really, as far as my pregnancy, like kind of in between these big UTI and kidney infections and stuff like that, was pretty normal. I didn't have any super off the wall symptoms. I mean, yeah, I've been not feeling super great, but I think that's just pregnancy in general, is that you don't feel super great, but nothing has been, you know, super crazy. Around, you know, 14 weeks is when the nausea from the first trimester kind of started to go away, and I started to get my energy back, which was amazing. So you kind of feel you in between these big events. It was all pretty standard pregnancy feelings, nothing super crazy. Going back to the kidney infection, I had clean cultures after each kidney infection. I came back with clean cultures. Which basically means that the antibiotics worked and the kidney infection was gone, the UTI was gone. Yeah, it was completely gone, basically, is what my point is. And I also want to mention that with these kidney infections, I wasn't getting classic UTI symptoms like I did with my very first UTI at 6 weeks, which is super crazy. But I didn't have burning when I peed. I didn't get the urge to go, you know, like when you go and then you have to go and you have to go and you have to go. I didn't feel like I had to go after I went. The classic like UTI symptoms I didn't have. And I was drinking a ton of water, everything. So before I get all those comments, I know that like people are gonna be like, you should do this, you should have done that, or you probably haven't been drinking enough water. I've drinking more than the water that I was supposed to be drinking. I've done everything that I can be doing to ward off these infections. So anyway, a couple weeks later, I started to get pain in my kidney again, and it was exactly the pain that I felt with my first kidney infection, except I didn't, like, it was the first day, not like 4 days after I started to feel the pain. So I called my midwife. She said, well, give it a day, try to, you know, just drink a ton of water, like triple your water intake, and try to just see if you can flush it out. And so that's what I did, and it didn't work. So she said, well, why don't you go ahead and go get seen, but I didn't want to go to the hospital again. It wasn't that urgent, so she said just go to an urgent care. They did a urinalysis and said, yeah, you have a UTI, and you obviously know what a kidney infection feels like, so if you're having kidney pain, it's probably spread to your kidney. So I had a dose of oral antibiotics. At this point, they were starting to be like, ooh, especially because I had just had clean cultures less than a week before I got the second kidney infection. It was less than a week from clean cultures to kidney pain. So that one, my midwives actually were like, I mean, anything is possible, but like, we really doubt that you have another kidney infection after just having clean cultures come back. I did. But I got another one maybe 3 weeks later. It was less than a month later. I had another kidney infection, and this one came on very suddenly, and it hurt. It was extremely painful. It was like I didn't hurt in the morning, and all of a sudden in the afternoon I was in like real, like on the floor pain, kind of pain. And because it came on so suddenly, I was thinking maybe it was a gas pain. I haven't had any gas pain this pregnancy, but I've heard that in pregnancy you can get really bad gas pain, and so because it was so suddenly and so painful, I waited till that evening. Took gas relief pills and everything like that. My midwife said if it is gas pain, that should help within a couple hours. And it didn't help. And I actually had a appointment the next day for gestational diabetes. I called that evening and was like, I have an appointment tomorrow, but I'm freaked out because kidney infections, you're at risk for preterm labor. So is it safe for me to be like, oh, I know I have this really terrible kidney infection, I'm in all this pain, to still wait till my appointment to get seen by my midwife? And she was like, no. She was like, plus, like, it came on so suddenly, it could be stones. She was like, why don't you just go ahead and go to the hospital and we'll see you tomorrow and kind of follow up from there. So I went to the hospital and I had a kidney infection. And this one was worse than the other ones I had. Basically, I went into the ER, and they didn't take me straight. It was a different hospital because we were actually in Northwest Arkansas because I had an appointment the next day. My first kidney infection, I was in a local hospital closer to my house, but so they didn't take me straight to labor and delivery. They took me to the ER and did the urine analysis there, came back as a kidney infection, or a UTI. I had, I think they're called nitrates in my urine, or whatever the key, the thing that makes them think that it's a UTI is what it came back as. So it came back, and that I had a UTI, and so I had the kidney pain, so I knew it was in my kidneys. And so they treated me with a bag of IV antibiotics in the ER, and then because you're at risk for preterm labor when you have a kidney infection, they also went ahead and sent me to labor and delivery to have my baby monitored. And so they sent me to labor and delivery and had me monitored there to make sure I wasn't having contractions or anything like that. And thank God, with all these kidney infections, that I haven't gone into any kind of preterm labor. Like, honestly, like, as bad as all the kidney infections were, I mean, that's the most important thing, is that, you know, like, he ended up, everything worked out and he was safe, and I didn't go into preterm labor. At this point, like, the ER doctors, the labor delivery doctors, after my reputation with the other kidney infections, my midwives, everyone was kind of like, okay, we really need to stop this, because I'm literally just pretty much just ingesting huge amounts of antibiotics, which is obviously really bad. Back to this kidney infection. The labor and delivery doctor, the OB that was in the labor and delivery, was concerned. He was probably more concerned than any of the other doctors I'd seen. But he was kind of like, you know, you seem to be handling the pain well, but he was like, I don't doubt that you have one because everything is coming back that you have one. But he was like, you know, you seem to be okay. Normally we keep, you know, with this kind of, you know, kidney infection, we'd want to keep you overnight. And I was like, please don't keep me overnight. Like, if he's okay, like if my baby's okay, and like you feel like it's safe for me to leave, like I don't want to stay overnight unless, you know, for safety reasons for me or him I need to. Then obviously, of course I would, but I don't want to stay overnight. So he was like, well, let's just hang out and keep an eye on him for a little while and everything like that. And I had, like I said, I had the IV antibiotics already at that point. We did that, and thank God I wasn't in preterm labor. He said, if you really want to leave, we'll go ahead and let you leave and discharge you, but you have to come back tomorrow night. It has to be you have to give 24 hours, and it took me so long to get the IV antibiotics started that night that I had to come back the next night at like 9 o'clock at night or something like that, because you have to have 24 hours between the antibiotics. So he's like, you have to come back tomorrow at like 9 p.m. to get a second bag of antibiotics. He let me leave, and to also to monitor him a second time to make sure that I wasn't in any kind of going into any preterm labor. So I went back the next day, the next night, had the second bag of antibiotics, had him monitored again. I still had the infection. I was running a temperature still. So he said if I didn't lose the temperature by the third night, that I had to come back again for another bag of antibiotics. But thankfully, I didn't have a temperature the next night, so I didn't have to go back. And then after that, of course, they followed it up with oral antibiotics. I finished those antibiotics. I think it was a 10 days of antibiotics after that one, which gave my midwives 10 days to figure out a plan for how they were going to treat me. They are nurse certified midwives, so they can write prescriptions and all that kind of stuff. And also they have a collaborative doctor, I think. They have a doctor at the local hospital there that they work very closely with, that if for whatever reason a patient risks out of the birth center, that's the doctor that they go to. If they have anyone like me that is having some kind of additional medical issue through their pregnancy, that, you know, they always are quick to say like and know when it's out of their scope of what they can do, and they will talk to this OB and say like, what do you think? Here's all of her records, here's everything that's going on, you know, what do you recommend us to do? And then of course the midwives can do whatever they, you know, they'll recommend what they see fit, but they have this doctor that they talk to. So they had 10 days to kind of talk to this doctor and decide what their plan was for me, because they knew at this point I'm getting them, you know, every 2 to 3 weeks. They're coming out of nowhere, and they, based on the urine from the kidney infection, the most recent kidney infection, I can't remember exactly what they said. Something about the nitrates in my urine, or something that was missing in the urine, or was there present or not present. They were thinking it was starting in my kidneys, which made sense because I wasn't having any symptoms as far as urinating basically goes. It wasn't burning, I didn't have frequency, all those like classic UTI symptoms I wasn't having. All I was having was all of a sudden my kidney hurt. And then based on the urinalysis, they were thinking they were originating in my kidneys, and I was doing everything I could to not be getting them to begin with, and they knew they couldn't maintain this whole IV bags of antibiotics and oral antibiotics on this high amount. So they decided to do a low dose of antibiotics for the rest of my pregnancy, which is what I've been on since then. So I'm on a lower dose. Every day I take antibiotics to the end of my pregnancy. They really didn't want to do this. This was like the last resort. We have to do something because we can't keep doing what we've been doing and having me get all these kidney infections. That's not safe either. One, getting the kidney infections isn't safe, and two, antibiotic resistance is a real thing, and getting these high amounts of antibiotics was not safe. It's kind of the lesser of two evils to be on a low-grade antibiotic for the rest of my pregnancy. It's not ideal. It's what they decided was best to keep me and him safe and keep him cooking for as long as he needs to be cooking for. That was around 29 week that all happened, and I'm 34 weeks now and have not had another kidney infection. So it's working. And the antibiotics that I'm on now, it's not like you can't get a kidney infection with these. It just kind of decreases the risk that you can get one. You're less likely to get one. So, but I was told, you know, still make sure you're not like ignoring it if you get another one, because you can still get one. But I haven't had one, so that's good with that. My gestational diabetes came back good. I don't have gestational diabetes. My weight gain is good. And this is like, I hate talking about my weight, and like, especially on YouTube, which is such a judgmental place. I started my pregnancy out at 162, and my last appointment, which was, today's Friday, my appointment was on Monday, so I was 184, like on the dot, like 184.0. My weight's been good. I'm where I should be at in weight. I haven't gained too much or too little. My weight gain has definitely slowed down the 3rd trimester, which I believe is expected from what my midwives have told me, that you should start gaining less in your 3rd trimester. That was the gist of it. The kidney infections have been the real kicker in this pregnancy. My anatomy scan came back good at 20 weeks, and at 15 or 16 weeks we found out the gender, that he's a boy. And at the 15-week appointment, it wasn't an appointment, it was an elective ultrasound at like a boutique ultrasound place. But the 15-week ultrasound that we had done, he was already measuring a little big. He was measuring, I think, like 2 days big, and then at my 20-week ultrasound, which was the anatomy scan, he was measuring again like 2 or 3 days big. So he has more than caught up. Sorry, ladybug, I gotta move my legs. It's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. So, yeah, but I've just been uncomfortable here recently. It's getting hard to bend and just walking around, and I've been getting nauseous recently. I wasn't expecting to feel so nauseous in my 3rd trimester. My 2nd trimester was like goals. And then my 3rd trimester, I'm getting nauseous again. It is what it is. At my last appointment, I asked about it. I'm like, is this normal? Should I be feeling nauseous? And she said that some women, same way in your 1st trimester, your hormones are so crazy. It's kind of, your hormones do the same thing in your 3rd trimester. They really like get crazy again. So she said, that could be why. And then also when she felt his positioning, just with, you know, where they feel your stomach and feel where he's at, that his head's all the way down, but yet his butt still comes all the way up to the very top. And she said that like his butt is like up to my stomach, like pushing up against my stomach, which she was like, that would also be making you feel a little queasy, I'm sure. And then, you know, I've had hip pain. I think my hips are starting to give way for him. So that's kind of just my update. There's not a whole lot of else to say. I've been lucky to have a very, you know, fairly easy, uncomplicated pregnancy. But I wanted to give you guys an update. Excuse me, the heartburn. I will tell you that the heartburn is so real. So make sure you stay subscribed. We're almost done with his nursery, which I'm sitting in right now. These aren't the curtains from my living room. I'm sitting in his room. And we're gonna do a nursery tour here soon. I need a side table for next to this chair, and then it's ready. So yeah, so make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, blah 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 blah. All those things that every YouTuber says at the end of every video. I'm just glad to be pregnant, still glad to be here, glad to make it to 34 weeks, and hopefully I will keep you guys updated, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.